Oops, it's late. But we're going to have a great show. Our Gregarious Joy is being debuted today. And I brought my friend, Raleigh, to come and help me share about the show. My co-host will be Greg Franklin from Greg Franklin Speaks. And I am Bettina Joy from Be Bettina Fashion. This is Raleigh Fingers. He needs a little mustache. And he's going to be my co-host today. Right, Rawls? Right? Yeah. Okay. Anyway, I wanted to say I'm very, very excited to be here. This is going to be so fabulous and special. I cannot wait to be hosting a show with my friend Greg. Greg is an amazing person, and I'm going to speak about him and share about him first because Be Bettina has been a show for quite a while, and also I've been on a series of other shows here with socialmediashows.com, and I'd like to start with Greg. All right. Greg is Greg Franklin. He is a leader in the field of business. I met him just recently, and he is also he's a leader in the field of business and in the spiritual realm, which both experiences have shaped his life. He grew up in the heartland of Wichita, Kansas, under the Pentecostal religion, which gave him his basic biblical foundation. Greg received his bachelor's in finance and political science at Morehouse University in Georgia, and Greg was also a student body president for his high school class and his college class, so he definitely can get along with people, and that is really the neatest part about him. He's very amiable, and I love his gregarious personality. He is the kind of guy that I want to have a show with and talk about life with. We have so much fun when we're together. Something came up this morning, and that is why he is unable to be here today, and Raleigh wants to go down. There you go, Rawls. And it doesn't matter. He's going to be here next week, and we're going to be having our show on Wednesday mornings at 10 regular. I wanted to say also about Greg that he also had a very interesting life in many ways. He, not only being student body president for high school and college, which is amazing, he actually was very fortunate to get to be the roommate of Martin Luther King III, and that was just a great serendipity. He's also proud to be selected as a legislative assistant for State Senator Bob Dole. When he got out of college, he did apprentice or work as an assistant to Senator Bob Dole, and that shaped his life quite a bit as well. He loves politics. He loves to talk about the current events of the day and his point of view of society and how it's going. Let's see. Also, I wanted to tell you that he also studied some ministry at Hillside International Truth Center in Georgia under the leadership of Bishop Dr. Barbara Lewis King. He has a lot of things to say. As I've met him, I've gotten to know a lot more about Black history. He actually knows a lot of people who are in Black history, not just Martin Luther King's son, but his life in Georgia gave him a new point of view. He lived for many years in San Francisco and in Laguna, where he was a top salesman for 3 different companies, and he has recently been in Georgia for the last 3 years, but now he's in Las Vegas. And he was booked for #1 sales at 3 different Fortune 500 companies: Medtronic, Hewlett-Packard, Medical Products Group, and also the Philips Medical Company. He has achieved his level of success with a planned strategy. He has used years of being successful has enabled him to make his sales quota, to share his strategy in sales classes. So he's done motivational speaking in sales, and he also has a great point of view about it. He actually incorporates spirituality into his sales coaching. So I love that about him. And as a many-time speech participant, I love to go watch speakers speak and do public speaking myself. Ever since I was 17, I've done public speaking as well, not at the level he has, but I enjoy it. And anyway, it's just going to be a pleasure being with him and learning. The kinds of things that we plan to talk about, we have got a huge array of subjects we are going to be hitting upon for this show. And being that Mother's Day is coming up in a couple of days, we have, this is our Mother's Day show, kind of. And we have a great story that actually is out of this book that Greg contributed to Chicken Soup for the African American Soul. And he wrote a story about his mother. So I'm going to be reading that today because it is Mother's Day coming up, and I think that's appropriate. So, at any rate, I wanted to also recap the kinds of things we're going to talk about on our show, which are going to be stories, examples, trial and error, doing role-playing here on the show. We're going to be talking about job opportunities in Las Vegas in the future. We're going to be talking about all the current events, like all the carnivals, festivals, and conventions that come and go all through the years, which are amazing here in our city. Ever since the last couple of years, I've actually started to become much more aware of all the conventions as they come and go because of my my current side job. And I love it. I can't believe all the different types of conventions we have and what they all mean to our city, as far as how things go, what the strip is like, Las Vegas Strip is like when we have X convention in town. It's really interesting, some of the stories we'll tell you. Also, we're going to be speaking about restaurants, and that would be the cheap eats. We want to focus on the cheap eats in town, all right? So we will be sharing about that in detail as we grow and learn more about our city and acquire many, many cheap eats to share with you. We will be speaking about that every single show. Also, the shopping deals. All the great shopping deals in Las Vegas. When people come here, you want to know. Inquiring minds want to know, right? So we will be sharing about that and have a list and addresses and go-tos for you so that you can go and check out all the stuff we're talking about. We really love Las Vegas. I've lived here 17 years, maybe 18 now, and I've raised my 2 boys here. This has been a really interesting and fun ride to be here, living here. My mother-in-law, God rest her soul, because she passed a few years ago, she used to say to us, this was probably prior to, want to put him on the patio? Raleigh, my boy is really giving me a problem here. Anyway, as I've lived here many years, I started to see the culture of our city. It's actually like a small town. It's the most unusual phenomena because as I noticed, living here, we're gonna go?
Yeah,
okay.
One break.
All right. This is a great small town, actually, and we can't wait to share what we mean by that soon.
So
We're gonna take a break. I'll see you back in a couple of minutes, and we'll talk more about Gregarious Joy and all the great stuff that we've got to share with you. Thanks for tuning in. Bye for now from Bettina.
John is an employee at one of the most famous firms in the city of New York, so his job is very hectic, and he realized that it is necessary for him to go and finally take a vacation. But he went on a vacation without planning out the details, and wasn't able to truly enjoy where he went because he had to think about so many things that he didn't plan for. Instead of enjoying his time away from work, he came back with more stress that he was not able to take full advantage of his vacation. But this year, a coworker suggested him to try World Ventures this time to make his vacationing more enjoyable and less stressful. They do not require you to plan anything outside of your transportation, which is also available at discounted rates. Your stay, your transport, and many meals are planned by the club. John liked the idea very much. He tries World Ventures, and his experience with the club was amazing, as he made many friends there with whom he had a great time. John recommends that everyone should try this club, as they are the best in business. See how the VIP-vacation-club.com can give you the right experience without all the hassle. Enjoy the VIP experience that only World... John is an employee at one of the most famous firms in the city of New York, so his job is very hectic, and he realized that it is necessary for him to go and finally take a vacation. But he went on a vacation without planning out the details, and wasn't able to truly enjoy where he went because he had to think about so many things that he didn't plan for. Instead of enjoying his time away from work, he came back with more stress that he was not able to take full advantage of his vacation. But this year, a coworker suggested him to try World Ventures this time to make his vacationing more enjoyable and less stressful. They do not require you to plan anything outside of your transportation, which is also available at discounted rates. Your stay, your transport, and many meals are planned by the club. John liked the idea very much. He tries World Ventures, and his experience with the club was amazing, as he made many friends there with whom he had a great time. John recommends that everyone should try this club, as they are the best in business. See how the VIP-vacation-club.com can give you the right experience without all the hassle. Enjoy the VIP experience that only World Ventures provides. John is an employee at one of the most famous firms in the city of New York, so his job is very hectic, and he realized that it is necessary for him to go and finally take a vacation. But he went on a vacation without planning out the details, and wasn't able to truly enjoy where he went because he had to think about so many things that he didn't plan for. Instead of enjoying his time away from work, he came back with more stress that he was not able to take full advantage of his vacation. But this year, a coworker suggested him to try World Ventures this time to make his vacationing more enjoyable and less stressful. They do not require you to plan anything outside of your transportation, which is also available at discounted rates. Your stay, your transport, and many meals are planned by the club.
Live streaming on social media is the best new way to interact and bond with your community. Do you love to encourage, motivate, and empower others, but you do not know how? Well, your opportunity starts with us on social media shows. We have 20 shows a week live streamed across the globe, with a reach of over 80,000 and growing. So you can host your own show, and you can be anything you want to be. So let's bring the community together, and let's bring the world to you. Join us now. Live streaming on social media is the best new way to interact and bond with your community. Do you love to encourage, motivate, and empower others, but you do not know how?
I'm back. It's B. Bettina and Bettina Joy, and this is the Gregarious Joy Show. We are having a great time talking about all kinds of different new issues, new events, new issues, all kinds of subjects that we're going to talk about. This show is going to be really, I think, people friendly, very community oriented. I was saying my co-host Greg Franklin from Greg Franklin Speaks. He was unable to be here today, even though it's our first show. It just was something that it came up, and he will be here next week, and you'll be able to meet him in person. Great, right? Any rate, today I'm sharing about him and giving his promo. I guess I'll get a recap next week to share when he's, so I can see his, face when we share about it. This book, for Mother's Day, I decided to share a story that Greg wrote that was featured, that was in this book, The Chicken Soup for the African American Soul. And I want to get right into that because it's a beautiful story. All right, this was perfect for Mother's Day because he wrote it about his mother. Oh my gosh, I love this bookmarker. Who are you people? That's from the great artist down by First Friday, Dar, that Face Up. Art of Recognition, Face Up, fantastic. I love her cartooning, it's really good. And she says on the back of this bookmarker, by the way, the only true power we have is how we choose to see it, which is so true. Absolutely. The only true power we have is how we choose to see it. Absolutely love it. At any rate, let me start with a story. Chicken Soup from the Soul, for the African American Soul. All right, this story is called Hand Me Down Love. And he put a quote by a famous person, Marva Collins. It says, "Character is what you know you are, not what others think you have." That's beautiful. And without further ado, it was a typical spring day in my local high school science class. Each student was show proficiency in their anatomy of dissecting a frog. We were called up in alphabetical order. My day was today. This is Greg speaking. And he says, I was ready for the task. I wore my favorite power shirt, the one I knew looked good. I looked good in. The one everyone told me I looked good in. When my name was called, I walked confidently to the front of the room, smiled to the class, and grabbed the scalpel and began the task. A voice from the back of the room said, "Nice shirt." I beamed from ear to ear. When suddenly another voice from the back of the room said, "That shirt belongs to belonged to my father. And Greg's mother is a maid, and she took the shirt from a bag from the Salvation Army that we were about to let go to the Salvation Army." So my heart sank. I was speechless. It was probably the 1 minute, but it felt like 10 minutes of total emptiness and embarrassment in front of my peers. Vice President of Student Government, born with a gift of gab, I stood for the first time in my life speechless with nothing to say. As I looked to the left, another African American whose mother was also a maid looked down to my right, and the other African American in the class laughed out loud. I wanted to crawl into a hole. My biology teacher asked me to begin the dissection. I stood speechless. He repeated the question. After total silence, he said, "Mr. Franklin, you may be seated. Your grade today is a D." I don't know which was more embarrassing, receiving the low mark or being found out. At home, I stuck the shirt in back of my closet. My mom found the shirt and brought it to the front. This time, I put it to the middle of the closet. Again, she moved it to the front. A few weeks passed, and my mom asked, why had I not worn the shirt? I responded, "I just don't like it anymore." She pressed with more questions. I didn't want to hurt her, but I had been raised to tell the truth. I explained what had happened in front of the whole class. Mom sat in total silence while tears fell from her eyes. Then she stood and called her employer. "I will no longer work for your family," she told him, and asked for an apology for the incident in school. My mother was quiet for the rest of the day. At dinner, when she was typically the life of the family, Mom was totally quiet. After the kids were down for the night, I stood outside my mom and dad's door and heard what was going on. In tears, my mother shared her humiliation with my father, how she had quit her job and how embarrassed she felt for me. She said she couldn't clean anymore. She knew her life's purpose was something greater. What do you want to do? My dad asked her. Teach children, she answered with sudden clarity. You have no education, Dad pointed out. With conviction, she said, well, that's what I want to do, and I am going to find a way to make it happen. The next morning, she met with the personnel director of the Board of Education, who thanked her for her interest, but told her without an education, she could not teach school. That evening, Mom, a mother of 7 children and a high school graduate from far removed from school, shared with us her new plans of attending the university. Mom started her studies by taking 9 hours. She spread her books on the dining room table, studying right alongside us. After her first semester, she immediately went back to the professional manager and asked for a teaching assignment. Again, she was told, no, without an education, not without an education. She went back to school the second semester, took 6 more hours, and again went back to the personnel manager. He said, you are serious, aren't you? I think I have a position for you as a teacher's assistant. This opportunity is dealing with children who are mentally challenged. Slow learners with, in many cases, little to no chance of learning. This is the highest area of teacher turnover due to sheer frustration. I could understand that. Mom leaped at the opportunity. She got us kids ready for school in the morning, went to work, and came home and fixed dinner. I knew it was tough, but it was what she wanted to do, and she did it with so much love. For almost 5 years, my mom was a teacher's assistant, and at Starkley Special Education Center. I'm going to have to stop for a second and get back to this after our break. We're going to take a break. This is a beautiful story, and I know you all want to find out how it ended. Greg's mother was a beautiful lady and very special, and I can't wait to share the rest of it with you. So, happy Mother's Day, and we'll see you when I get back.
Social media shows
is about
branding, opportunity,
and outreach.
We are an entertainment company that empowers others
by promoting and supporting our community
and everyone who reaches our content.
Here on social media shows,
here we're a family.
We are family.
We are family. I got all my sisters with me. We are family. Get up, everybody, sing.
We are family.
We are family.
We are family. We are family.
We are family.
We are family, and we want you to be part of our social media shows family.
thoughtless comment made in the classroom that day. It has been said, children learn from what you say, not from what you say, excuse me. It has been said that children learn from not from what you say, but from what you do. Mom showed me how to look challenging situations in the face and never give up. As for me, my biology teacher approached me as I gathered my books to leave the classroom that day. He said, I know this was a tough day for you, but I will give you another chance on the assignment tomorrow. I showed up, dissected that frog, and he changed my grade from a D to a B. I challenged him for an A, but he said, you should have gotten it right the first time. It would be unfair to others. As I grabbed my books and walked towards the door, he said, do you think you are the only one who has to wear used clothes? Do you think you are the only one who has grown up poor? In response, with an assured yes, that's what he said to his teacher, yes. My teacher put his arm around me and shared his story of growing up during the Depression and how on his graduation day he was laughed at because he did not have enough money to buy the cap and gown. He showed up with the same pants and shirt he wore to school every single day. He said, I know how you felt. My heart went out to you. Do you know something, kid? I have faith in you. I think you're going to be something special. I could feel it in my heart. That was neat. I was speechless again. Both of us were fighting back the tears, but I felt the love from him. A white man reaching out to a young black student who had been bussed across town. I went on to become president of the student body, and my teacher was my mentor. Before I opened assembly, I would always look for him, and he would give me a thumbs up, a secret only he and I shared. It was at that point I realized that we were all the same. Different colors, different backgrounds, but many of our experiences are the same. We all want to be happy. We all want great things in life. My teacher and my mother showed me that it's not what we wear, your education or your money, but what's in your heart that counts. By Greg Franklin. Beautiful, huh? Excellent book. Excellent story. And I'm proud to say I'm his friend. Thank you, Greg, for that beautiful story for Mother's Day. And that is really the premise of our show, is coming from the heart and also living in spirit. We're convinced that living in spirit is achievable and the best thing that we could possibly wish for others and ourselves. And Greg and I work at our relationship. We've just been friends a short time, but speaking of which, I want to get into the subject of relationships. We are going to talk about relationships on this show too, because we happen to, your postman and you have a relationship. Your mother and father and you have a relationship. Your friends and you have a relationship. So Greg and I have a relationship. And the first thing that I was thinking about when I was wanting a friendship with a new gentleman friend or a new friend in general, was that when you're creating a relationship, I always kind of plot it out. I actually write a list of what I'm looking for. Every single time in my life when I wanted to create my marriage, I was married 25 years, and most of it was pretty rich and satisfying. But at any rate, when I started, before I met my husband, I actually created a list of what I was looking for in a man. And I remember it very distinctly. I had a big, long list of all the qualities I wanted. And I think that basically it beats down to these things. And anytime in your life when you're up to the next level and you're looking for something new, the first one is the must-haves. I listed all the things I must have and would not waver upon. Kind, mature, family-oriented, eating and exercising healthily, working out, things like that. Qualities like that. And the next, number 2, was the preferences. Preferences, you may not, have everything, because you're not going to find everything in everybody, and you have to be able to trim tab your plan at a little bit. But the preferences. Okay, and then the third thing is the deal breakers. Deal breakers are very important to write down. Things that you will absolutely not tolerate. It would not work for you at all to be, with somebody who did X, or was about X, or had a problem with X, or the way they spoke, or the way they acted, and their lifestyle, or something that would not work for you. You always want to know your deal breakers, because without defining it, you will, if you don't stand for something, the old saying goes, you'll fall for anything, right? And nobody wants to do that. So I wanted to invite you all to make a list for your relationships that you're interested in creating, whether it be friendships, a love relationship, relationships with an employer, with, I don't know, who knows, a service professional that you're going to be working with and having work for you in your home or something. It's all a relationship. It's all about relationships. And I think that it goes without saying that we all want to have healthy, happy, successful relationships that work, right? So that's a big premise of our show, as well as, like I mentioned before, job opportunities in Las Vegas as we go along in the future. Very important. The future in general in America is very important to talk about. I don't think we're going to be being defeated by any nationality like some, I'm not going to say, but some presidents speak about, or leaders in our country speak about certain people being the villain. I don't think that there's any villain in people. I think that the problem, or the thing that's going to come down, is we're going to be losing jobs to automation. Automation is a very interesting thing, because it is pretty obvious that we are going to be changing radically in the next 10 years. You will see jobs go away because of automation. That's really the thing to be afraid of, or to plan for, is the future of what people are going to do in the workplace once that hits. So next thing was carnivals, current events. We're going to be going through a lot of current event talk, carnivals, festivals, conventions in town. We're going to be even having people from these carnivals, festivals, and conventions come in as our guests and share about it, so they can bring the excitement to you and the whole inside scoop, okay? Also, restaurant reviews, cheap eats. We're all about the cheap eats, but also I'm all about the dives and diners, like the really good, wonderful finds in our city as far as flavor and food. We all love food, and Greg and I especially love food. We adore it. We love to talk about it constantly. And also fashion and design. He's actually quite creative. He loves to design. He loves to talk about style and design all the time. And I love that. So we're going to get scrappy and banter about all kinds of different things on our show. We are going to be encouraging people to call in, write in, and watch our show, and maybe send us questions as we go along. That's the beauty of a social media show. We can interact with you as the show is going on. So viewers, please note that and go ahead and be calling in to us, okay? Or watching on the watch party, okay? I look forward to your comments and hearing different people's point of view and enlighten us about something. If we're wrong on a fact, we love the fact checking. We're all about fact checking and getting things right. So that would be wonderful if you would participate with us and be part of our active audience that we get used to seeing on a regular basis. All right? Let's see. I think that if nobody's watched my show, I might as well introduce myself a little bit too. The Be Bettina show, which was about fashion and art, it is about fashion and art. I have done about 9 different shows, maybe 12. I've been on other people's shows like Let's Talk World, as well as The Fab Life many times. And when I was on those shows, the first few times I was on, they wanted to interview me and ask me about myself. So, you know, that it's hard to talk about yourself. It is. It's nerve-wracking. But, well, you know, it gets a little boring when you've done it a couple of times over. But I did it, and what I shared was I've been in the garment industry most of my life. I've been a clothing designer, an artist. I have been working in the garment industry all through my 20s and my 30s. When I was a kid, straight out of college, I went to the FIDM, the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising. Hi everybody from FIDM. And I loved where I went to school in San Francisco, and also I went in Los Angeles, and they set us up so that we had to transfer to Los Angeles so that we would have our second year there and be working in the industry in Los Angeles, because there were a plethora of jobs at that time during the 80s and 90s. When I was there really were. I mean, they came through on their promise that I would get experience very quickly. I actually really did. I worked, within 5 years, I'd already been an assistant designer, a cutter, a pattern maker, and even gotten to brush on designing a little bit. I was a trim buyer, did purchasing, planning, I helped with production. I was an assistant in factories. I worked for big factories, little factories, all kinds of different experiences. And I worked for almost every single kind of person, nationality as well, which is something I absolutely love that I got the opportunity to do, because I love travel and I love cultures and I love to learn about different people's cultures. So having so many different kinds of bosses over the years, Korean, Asian, Persian, Armenian, Jewish, Israeli, American, I had so many different kinds of employers that I actually got to see some interesting stuff. Mostly I loved their negotiation styles. That's a whole show on its own. When you talk about all the different negotiation styles from different nationalities, it can be humorous, because believe you me, we're all different culturally. And I know that Greg, he's African American, he has a lot of cultural things that I never really knew about his culture. I'm actually learning a lot about Black history since I've met him, and I plan to learn more, and I have started actually studying it like a subject matter to understand him better. And I know he's going to learn more about my culture too. I'm Swedish and Scottish, and so, you know, and Finland. So us Finland and Scottish, Swedish people, we deserve our due as well, and we will probably talk about foods from all our countries that we have in our lineage, and cultural things that are synonymous to our different cultures, and that's always fun. In my past show, Be Bettina, which you can still watch the show, they're archived shows, I had one segment where I talked about costuming from around the world. And I had my doll collection photographed, which had great costumes from around the world. Many different cultures were represented, and I shared, you know, my point of view and inspiration from these different cultures, which a lot of designing most of it is inspired from the past, combining different cultures together, say, you know, as we go along in history, you can see every era of fashion design was influenced by different cultures maybe one or two mixed together, and then a certain twist put on it that was of the day, something of the day that made it very current for the day. So I love sharing about that kind of stuff because it's like history, fashion history, that's my thing. I love, love, love that. So at any rate, we'll be talking about all kinds of things fashion. We also might see my designs here and there, and I will probably show some styles for sale at the end of our show sometimes. So I'm excited about that. We'll have some hot models on here that are gonna sit with us and you know, turn around and show us fantastic looks and things that you possibly can buy. So that's it. The Bibatina show can be seen on socialmediashows.com. And I guess when I did my sharing of my first couple shows, when I shared about me as a designer, I got to do some import-export work. I got to go to India. I had the opportunity in, 1980, I think, 5. I went to India and got to do some designing over there. I actually loved it. I was in New Delhi, staying at the Ashoka Hotel. Wow, that was a trip. And I should show my album of pictures sometime and talk about that trip. 116 degrees with no air conditioning in the factory. Interesting. I mean, we know what hot is here, but that's the same over there, but we had to work under those conditions. At any rate, it all worked out. I survived it, and I can live to tell about it. It was really interesting to be in a government hotel called the Ashoka Hotel, which in New Delhi is mostly Hilton, Hyatt, all the nice hotels, but this one is a government hotel where a lot of dignitaries like to stay instead of going to the Hilton because there's so many people around who would be gawking over them. So the Ashoka was where my bosses had us go. I worked for New Options, the company New Options at that time, and the reason being that we wouldn't be bothered because we were there to work. We weren't on vacation laying in the sun. Went out to disco or to the dance at some of the nice hotels at night sometimes. Anyway, the Ashoka Hotel had fantastic situation with the artifacts that you can never see anymore. Just the beautiful old artifacts from India, which you can't let them leave. They won't let them leave the country anymore. It's forbidden. I think most countries have that. They're beautiful high-end artifacts. Okay, and I saw the Prime Minister of Jordan on the front steps there one day when I was about to go to the factory. That was interesting, and all his people. Any rate, stories about the fashion business, stories about, I guess, being a mom in Las Vegas I can share because I loved being a mom. And I have one son in college at University of San Diego. Hi, Max. He's studying pre-med, and my younger son is in high school here at Spring Valley. Hey, Ryan. I asked them both if I could use their names, and they agreed it would be okay. So, Ryan Steinhauer, and from Spring Valley High School, he's in the championship game for baseball this season right now. He's a hot baseball player, and I'm very proud of him. So those are the kinds of things we're going to talk about, and it's going to be great hearing from Greg about his point of view in sales and sales training as well. He's done a lot of motivational speaking and loves people and loves sharing all his knowledge and his spiritual prowess and just his good heart, you know, sharing how he's achieved his being the national sales rep for 3 different companies over the years, his successful career. And also, we're going to be talking about life, decor, all kinds of things we love. Anything we love, we're going to go from different subjects. Maria, you're giving me the 2 fingers?
Yes.
Okay. We're going to be ending the segment. Thank you so much. This was a pleasure getting to be with you. Bibatina got to be part of the new Gregarious Joy. And Greg Franklin Speaks from Gregarious Joy, he will be here next week. We will enjoy him next week and have him in full force, where we do another beginning, show where he can introduce himself all by himself as well. Thank you for being here. Have a great day and have a great Mother's Day. And do get this book, Chicken Soup for the African American Soul, which is sold at Barnes & Noble. Thanks for being with us. See you next week. Bye-bye.